All right, welcome back to another Jason's World of Insightful Things. I'm Jason, and we're going to do something a little different today. I know we've been very specific on electrical stuff and mechanical stuff, but I'm going to start diversifying some of the uh, content that we're putting on our channel. And today I thought it was really cool. I've always wanted to spray paint. I've never got to spray paint before, just never had the opportunity or the need. But now that my life is changing a little bit, I wanted to spray paint my work truck. It was a white Ford F-250, an '08 model. And I said, you know what, I can do this. So thanks to YouTube and some really insightful folks that are out there, and I'll see if I can get the URL of the really cool dude that I watched over and over again. He has a lot of videos. I'll share that with you towards the end. But I actually got the confidence to be able to do this. So just to set some ground rules or some expectations, it's an older truck. It was not taken care of very well, but it was really low mileage, and that's why I wanted it, because the suspension parts, the motor, it only had 20,000 miles when I bought it, but it looked like it was 170,000 miles. So I fixed initially the rust spots. I learned a lot about paint, so I painted it up a little bit so it was white. But now I want to do something different. I really like olive drab camouflage paint for the military. I think with the black features of this truck and the olive drab, it's going to look really good. And what I want to share with you is this. I'm not a professional painter. I can't even teach anybody how to do it. But with the advice of folks on YouTube and with just doing some research and some practice, I went to Harbor Freight. I bought a Spider, which is one of their top of the line guns. This is really all you need. And I bought an air gauge so I can monitor my pressures, and I'll explain that a little later. But I already did half this truck yesterday. I wanted to make sure that before I did a video, I knew what I was doing, so I could show everybody that's watching, really, it's doable for the amateur. So what you need to do is basically have about an 800 grit sandpaper. And these you can buy at any paint store, Napa, anything like that. I got Harbor Freight Bauer grind, or a oscillating sander buffer, adjustable speed. And I really am liking this restoration shop. Here's some products here that I got on eBay. Right there, I'll show you. This came with basically a gallon of paint, 4 quarts, and then the hardener component. It's a 4-to-1 ratio. I mixed it yesterday. It was super easy. And so far, the paint that I'm looking at was really cool. This right here is what I basically put my units in. I got a little scooper and I put 4 parts of the paint to 1 part of the hardener. Put it in here, and it's a top-down gravity sprayer, not a bottom-up. Some sprayers draft like a Venturi from the bottom up. This one I like better because it goes from the top down and gravity helps it. So just to give you some context, the devil's in the detail. And you know, I've always been working on improving my detail. You don't want a kind of a ratchet looking vehicle that you got a lot of mistakes on and all that. Masking the truck and prepping it is truly the hardest part of this whole project. My videographer Terry behind me helped me yesterday immensely, and he's going to walk over this way and show you basically what we were able to do. I did have to go over because of the way I masked, and I had some boo-boos, so I got a little paintbrush and mixed some paint, and I touched up those areas that didn't come out, that didn't get coverage. But if you come around, I mean, at the end of the day, minus washing up the vehicle, you know, it's got a really nice appearance to it. You know, if you come over this way, the paint is really nice and consistent. I did not fix all the little like blemishes. I'll show you a few if I can find them. Like down here, I could have, you know, filled that in with a little Bondo. but I elected not to do that because I really am not looking for a factory showroom paint job. What I'm looking for is a very cost-effective alternative to taking it in for $3,000 and getting a professional to do it. So the paint that I showed you on eBay that I bought was $265, my cost, and I could do this whole F-250 four-door with a 6-foot bed. So I'm gonna start prepping, and I'll show you how I do that. It's really easy. You just go over it with the sander, and I'll show you that now. And it's as easy as this. You don't have to push hard. Neutral speed. All right, welcome back. Now, we just lightly scarified or abrased the paint just to get all the impurities out and the top coats and all the stuff that's over the years would build up. There's still a little bit of residue here. We're gonna buff that down a little bit with some tack cloth. But again, no mysteries. I mean, I just took off the tail lights, took off the tailgate, you know, made the field of work as easy and as practical as possible. So now I want to just cover real quick what we're going to do with tape. So I'm going to get my tape. And I'm going to go get a razor. And here's how I like to do it. And again, I'm not telling you this because I'm an expert. I'm telling you this because I'm impressed that I can actually do it. So I tape over and I overlap what I want. So notice that I'm not trying to take the tape and put it even with this, with the trim. I'm just coming overlapping it. And what the plan is I'm gonna cut it with my knife, and that way I'll have as close to where I wanna be as possible. So I'll find this index edge, and all I'm gonna do is put down the edge of my knife. Then I'm gonna peel this layer back. I know it's kind of common sense, but make sure you have as sharp a knife as possible so you don't get any weird edges on your cuts. And that, my friends, is as close to a perfect edge as you're going to get, at least in my department here. So I'm going to continue to do that with Terry. We're going to get it all masked up, and then we will see you when we're ready to paint, and I'll show you how to do that. 4 scoops to 1 scoop of hardener in this. So I'm going to come in, and without trying to make too big of a mess, 1, 2, one of the things you might wonder is how many coats of paint are you putting on this thing, Jason? And the answer, based on the manufacturer of this paint, is it's good usually for 2-coat job. You know, obviously depending on exterior circumstances, you know, how good of a job you did, how your gun's working and all that. But my gun, I believe, is working really well. Had a lot of success and fun with it yesterday. And that's what I needed. This is the hardener. You got about maybe 40 minutes once you put the hardener in. And the more hardener you put in, the faster this paint gets thick. And then what I do is I take that and I just mix this up real good. I'm not going to cover safety products and masks and dust masks and ventilator masks. I don't choose to use that. I'm probably going to be brain dead in another 2 years, but everybody gets a choice. So this is a 3.6 on the VOC meter. So what that means is 0 is no VOCs, which is volatile organic chemicals. And what that is that's what suspends the paint particles and makes it an emulsion so you can spray it. And then once the VOC atmospheres and boils off into the atmosphere and evaporates, the only thing you're left with is the paint. That's the purpose of VOCs. I'm going to put this lid on. Always make sure that you take the vent and you make the vent work, because if it doesn't, you won't get spray. I'm going to dial up my pressure. So if you want to take a look at this, I got 38 pounds at the head. And I'm going to dial it. I already have it preset on my regulator to deliver about 12. And I'm going to look at that once I get going. Yep, we're good. Watch the hose. I'm going to start over here. This is your fan, and I'm going to set the fan so I'm stroking this way back and forth. So there's a vertical fan and a horizontal fan. In this application, I need to set it for horizontal. So right now it's set perfectly. What I'm trying to do is make sure that I've got a nice overlap. I try to do like a 3/4 pass, and I try, to keep it as straight as I can possibly get it. Terry, why don't you take a look at that? Show everybody. We'll show everybody that side. And that's about what we're looking for. So on that note, I'll come back and I'll show you how I do the tailgate. I'm going to finish the other side and we'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, first round's done. Terry kind of showed you what that looked like on the one side, passenger side of the truck. I'm gonna load up with some more paint, do the first coat on the tailgate. I'll show you that in detail. Like I say, I'm sure there's 100,000 better ways to do this, but this is the way I'm doing it. And so far, believe it or not, I haven't gotten any paint on my hands. But as soon as I do something, I'm sure I'll get paint on my hands. Enough for our magic hardener again. This stuff, just to give you another blast. I'm not sponsoring anything, but it's custom shop. Here's the stuff I'm using over there. And so far, it's worked out great. The paint that cured overnight is really nice and set up. So I'm really pleased with that. We'll mix this up like I showed you before. Make sure that hardener gets in there and distributes in this paint cup. But honestly, I didn't know what to expect with this. I'm going to show you some touch-up stuff that I did yesterday. So it's a little bit more complicated than just go spray and everything is good. I had to go with a brush. So I used my model brush as an example. And I used this little brush right here, little chisel tip, and this little cup. And I basically had to touch up anywhere that I masked incorrectly. And Terry, I don't know if you saw in the window, but I had to literally go all along that window rail with my brush. So, it's crazy. All right, ready to go. So here's how it works. All right, so coat one on the tailgate's done. I'm going to check, according to my YouTube experts, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes for the paint to flash, which is basically evaporate the VOCs enough so you could put a second coat on it. So you don't want to put a second coat when everything's still like this and shiny and wet. So about 10 minutes or so, I'm going to start and I'm going to put the second coat on. I'm not going to show you that because it looks just like putting the first coat on, but it builds up that thickness of the paint so it can withstand different environmental factors. So we'll be back soon. You can wear some gloves. For whatever reason, I don't like to use gloves. And I just want to make sure that all the little orifices that are in that tip and on the back and everything is clean. I don't want anything for the next job I have. It's going to slow me down. Watch out with this acetone on different plastics. It'll melt different plastics. Found that out yesterday with trying to use some cups from the kitchen to do that. You'll need a little adjustable wrench. I like to take the tip out. I take all this out. So here's the proportioner needle. I'll wipe that down. This is what regulates the flow and stops it. Spray this down a little bit. You know, and the devil really is in the detail. You know, if you don't take care of this stuff, it's just not going to work. I know that from the modeling stuff I do with plastic models. I got a really small version of these, a little air sprayer. And if you don't clean these out, these things get all messed up. And then lastly, the actual gun. And there's a little plastic gizmo in here. And again, I like to polish it up, get all the surface. I hate getting all gummed up. There's some painters, and I know they paint every day for a living, but they're wearing more paint than the car, and their tools are all messed up. I don't like that. It's not my style. So I'll clean all this up, and I'll put all this stuff back. There's these little indexing pins. They go right there. That snaps in. That threads back in like so. You don't have to crush this stuff, just give it a little bit of a, make sure it's on. And voila, you got a clean gun. Just that simple. All right, give me a few more minutes. We'll come back to you with some other cool stuff. All right, almost second to last stage that I'm going to do for you guys today. If you want to take a look around with me, we touched up the back bumper with a black semi-gloss. It happens to be a Ford black semi-gloss, but I just picked it. It was by accident. I got as much as I could around the tail lights. I retouched up my rubberized strip because I'm in Ohio and there's a lot of road salt and different things. So I want to protect this with a little heavier coat for rust and abrasion. So I don't know if you can see that down there. But at the end, it's starting to look like a truck. Did the door jams and got a little bit inside, and again, nothing to brag about there. I did a quick job of it because I really don't care. It's a work truck. I want it to look nice from the outside. I don't plan to get rid of it, so I'm not worried about people critiquing me to death on all the finite details. I'm not taking this stuff apart like an auto body shop would. But again, I like to have pride in what I drive. I don't like rusty, nasty looking things, and that was my objective. Is could I pick a color that looked good, it worked well with the black, I didn't have to worry about having a super high shine on it. This coating that came from eBay from Custom Shop does not need any overcoats or overcoat sprays. It basically says 2 coats of paint in the hardener and you're good to go. So I'm going to take them at their word. I can't tell you because I haven't really tested this for any length of time. But you can see with this tailgate right here how nice it came out. There's some touch-ups. So with the paintbrush, I'm going to get in right here and get those little misses from the overmasking. But I got around it, and when this thing goes back together, it's going to look really good. I touched up a little bit. I had some bed spray, so I touched up a little bit more of the bed spray on the back. I had some material on there, some concrete and different things. But over the course of time, I'll just keep putting bed liner on it, cheap bed liner, and we'll go from there. In the credits at the very end, I'm going to put the link for the person that really gave me the confidence to do this on their YouTube channel. So I really appreciate that person, as well as some of the overall cost. I'll type that in the very end. But tongue in cheek, the paint was $265. My masking was $40. My time doesn't count, and again, it'll look as good as the amount of detail and prep work you put into it. I think the box of pads that I got were $20 for 100 pads for my rotary buffer. So appreciate you watching. If you like what you see and the diversity, I'm going to continue to build it. I'm going to continue to work on the channel and make the edits better. I got a full-time life, so this is afterwards because I really like sharing this stuff, and I was really inspired by YouTube. So thanks for being with us, and we'll talk soon.